We were talking about various fronts, how the Houthis are playing into this issue with US and Israel, how Israeli defense forces are has a manpower issue. Not only so, it is testing the abilities of the newly formed government here in Bangladesh. It has only been 2 months, and we see that the very first steps included rationing of fuel towards multiple petrol stations here in Dhaka and across the entirety of Bangladesh, the 64 districts. Right now, our Ministry of Energy is saying that even while having a speculated amount, the people are having to stand in longer queues. Motorcyclists are opening their fuel tanks and standing in queues physically just to have some gasoline for their movement. Of course, many nations in Asia has called out for an energy emergency that includes in the Philippines. They have enough until May. However, they are trying to get the message to the people that this is a very uncertain time in the world and we cannot necessarily guarantee of having enough supply. What is your views on this current government handling of the petrol rationing or fuel rationing that common Bengalis are now changing to live on with?
Okay, in Bangladesh, this is the beginning of one sector. Energy is such a thing that many things are depending on this particular energy. If you talk about the electricity, talk about the transportation cost of goods and especially the food grains, if you talk about the movement of the mass people or even the production in the industrial sector, mostly the RMG sector, everything is dependent on energy. So it will have a tremendous effect. Right now, what the government has decided not to, or so far it did not increase the fuel price.
Yes, that's a huge success.
Very success in one side, but again, we should say that what is the forecast or planning of the government, how long it can sustain this, because we got an economy after 5th of August where we need to pay huge amount for the international organizations who has given us loan. To repay the loans, we are dependent on tremendous factors, especially our export and everything. So energy cost definitely is giving a blessing. If it is not increased, it is a blessing for our national production or GDP. But at the same time, if you don't get enough revenue, especially in the Middle East, you see the business has been collapsed in the Middle East. So our main foreign currency was coming from the Middle East people. So there is no business. Tourism has totally gone down, and aviation sector is in the lowest possible ebb in the recent history. Even during the Corona period, we did not face this sort of problem in the aviation industry. So everywhere there is a crisis going on, and how long the government can sustain this crisis once the international community cannot afford it. You see, definitely in a recent column I have written that there is a period when the security used to mean that protecting our own land only by any means, by your guns or by your sticks or by your armaments, whatever you do. Now the security has different dimensions: energy security, food security, your biodiversity security. What is going on in Middle East? This bombing and burning of the fuel facilities, infrastructure. What is the impact of the whole environment? Who is calculating that? What is the damage to the environment? So all this comes under the overall picture of the security nowadays. Bangladesh should have planned for that. How long we can sustain this, and if need be, instead of 5 days government office, we could make 1 day for that is the home-based office.
Work from home.
Work from home for 1 day at least in the way. That used to give the message to the people that we are facing a crisis and combinedly we should face it. And more alarmingly, you see, we are on the 54th year of our independence, but our energy security, the storage capacity of the fuel, that has not increased. But consumption has been increased, and this consumption will multiply in next 10 to 15 years or 25 years. But what is the planning? Have you ever seen in a 5 years plan that storage capacities of the energy will be increased by this fold in any of the manifesto of the political parties?
And then
Nothing like
the
that.
new news includes building another bridge next to the Jamuna and the Padda bridge as well.
Yeah.
So building more bridges, adding on more to the strain of this nation. Not only so, we are not looking at other kinds of electric or other kinds of solutions.
Renewable energy.
Renewable energy includes
Yes.
solar, includes hydropower plants.
Whereas we have lot of chores in the coastal area.
Of course.
Not been utilized for production of food. Saline areas, saline water and salty areas are there. We can very well use it for the, but there is no national planning for that. That is the shocking part.
We are forgetting one huge global power. I'm talking about Russia. Vladimir Putin has said he will halt all kind of export of its oil and gas towards the world economy from April 1st. And that is going to create a lot of shortages from around the globe. And that is the nexus and how Russia has been charging towards Ukraine. A very short comment from Dr. Nasir before I can end the program. How are you seeing this? Russia finally says no export of its oil and natural resources.
Okay, looking at the role of Russia and China during this war, initially everybody was frustrated that why these tested friends of Iran and hostile friends of USA and Israel is not coming up. But the way they had been slowly supporting Iran in different ways, and the final strike they want to make, Russia has declared, as you have rightly said, the stopping energy supply to the countries of its choice, that is going to give a huge blow onto the world economy. And Donald Trump, I think he has to bow down if this particular one single decision of Russia is being executed. He has to bow, because he already asked for the European Unions to join to get the Hormuz Strait free of Iranian influence. That was not successful. And after that, Russia's main energy is being sent to the European countries. And if that is stopped, entire European Union will have to stand against the war, that is the Donald Trump and Israel. And they are in their homeland, they are under crisis, they are under pressure, and top of that, if there is a pressure from the European Union and other communities, and if the Middle East people now, the way they have been looking towards Ukrainian defense or Ukrainian military support, if it takes place officially, I think USA and Israel will have to say, I will not be surprised if they leave Iran or the surrounding area the way they left Vietnam or they left Afghanistan. That will not be what I am afraid of. I have written in my latest column also. They will target now countries like Yemen and Jordan or the Lebanon, and there will be some huge success of the US troops there in Yemen, Jordan and Lebanon, and they will say our mission is achieved. We have finished the proxy enemies, and now Iran is under pressure, so our mission is achieved, we go back.